move them to March, move the elections to March, and you can have, just the people on your street elected. I own a business in Long Beach, and they're district elections, and they have some that have very low voter registration, and they'll have, in Long Beach, they'll have a district sometimes where under 1,000 wins the election.
Well, two of our districts have 2,000 registered voters, so we can 20% turnout, get elected by a couple hundred votes.
Doesn't make any sense.
I actually think it's Richard. Richard, that's the problem with Senator Dean. He's in here every time. Richard is doing the because you get elected by a couple hundred votes, special interests run by candidates in those districts. So they control the council and bankrupt the city.
San Juan Capistrano in my neck of the woods is doing district elections. I think this November. Total population is 34,000. So. But they got sued, and so
It's happening everywhere.
it's just crazy. So.
Yeah.
City like that.
Just the mileage part for with heavy strokes, the 20,000 mile.
And I.
By using town cars,
That's
they're just facility, and they're going to be probably about 100,000 a year. So they're going to be somewhere around 50, 60 miles. I figured there was something beyond it, but I just wanted to. Yeah, so it's like what they're going to do is they'll do it, and then they'll intentionally do some long haul stuff just to get the 20,000. Yeah, so I'll just bring it up just so that it's on the record here, and then you guys can talk about that. So it's, I mean, if you're coming from, Montana, Ontario, you get the number every year. So it's that closer stuff.
Colleagues, I believe the hour has arrived.
I think it's probably better.
Can you hear me okay? All right, let's call the Technical Committee meeting to order. And welcome. 12 o'clock on...
Any big plans this weekend?
Watch my nephew play some soccer.
All right.
So at least that's pretty good.
How does it?
I'm not sure who's having the conversation there. Is that in LA?
Yes, it's mute yourself, please.
Excuse me, Anna, can you mute yourself, please?
It's coming.
Okay.
Open it right now, so. Okay. Councilman's
All right.
running a few minutes behind. He'll be here in about 5 minutes.
Would you please mute the mic until he arrives?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, I've called the meeting to order, and it looks like we've got a great crew in Diamond Bar. Must have had a good lunch.
Bad lunch.
If I'd only known. I'm in Riverside today on my way to Barstow tonight, so sorry about that. At any rate, we have a important couple items to get through today, so we'll just start into it. Matt, are you leading off? Or?
We'll have Vicki White, Program Supervisor, lead off the Prop 1B item. Supervisor?
Perfect. Vicki White, number 1.
Read slide, please.
Good afternoon. With this item, staff is seeking board approval to issue a program announcement for the heavy-duty trucks category, including transport refrigeration units and supporting infrastructure for the Prop 1B program. Back in June, ARB approved updates to their guidelines for the Prop 1B program. These updates include funding for near zero and zero emission technologies, recognizing that these technologies will likely have a higher cost. The program's providing for higher incentives to entice fleets to purchase the cleanest technologies as they become available. The program also is offering an extended timeline of 3 years to deploy these advanced technologies that may not be commercially available at the time the fleets applied to AQMD for the funding. Back in September, ARB issued new funding awards. This is the final round of funding allocations for the Prop 1B program. South Coast received about $100 million allocation for the heavy-duty trucks category, which includes TRUs and supporting infrastructure. Back in September, with board approval, we released a program announcement for the heavy-duty truck projects, including TRUs and infrastructure. This closed on November 20th. In May of this year, the board approved awards for these truck projects amounting to about $52 million. This is about 50% of the total awarded funds. So a new program announcement is needed to solicit additional truck projects for the remaining balance of funds. With this new PAs, we plan to do an enhanced outreach effort, which will involve preparing a webinar to disseminate important funding information for the fleets. And this webinar will be broadcast live, and we also plan to record it and post it on our program webpage for fleets to access at their convenience. So we're proposing to issue a program announcement for the heavy-duty diesel truck projects that involve replacement of a 2009 or older diesel truck with conventional natural gas, hybrid, optional low NOx, or zero-emission technology. And these trucks must move goods as part of a sales transaction. That's how we define them, as goods movement. And the program announcement also includes funding for the replacement of diesel TRUs with zero-emission technologies, including cryogenic systems as well as battery electric systems for the refrigeration. And we're also providing funding for the infrastructure for those zero-emission technologies. The schedule, the PA is on track to be, hopefully with board approval, we'll release it on June 3rd. It'll be open for 2 months. Following the evaluation period, staff will return to the board with recommended awards in December. And then we expect to proceed with execution of contracts in the first quarter of 2017. With this item, we're recommending approved issuance of the program announcement. And if this program announcement is still undersubscribed, we would like to reissue it one final time to be able to expend the balance of funds that we have for the Prop 1B program for this category of trucks and TRUs. And this concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions. Are there any comments?
Thank you. Colleagues, questions, comments?
I have one.
Please, go ahead.
A comment on, I think it's page 9 of 21 on the report, page 15 that I have, under eligibility. And there's vehicle miles traveled in California for the past 2 years, at least 20,000 miles for each Class 7 and 8 truck. And some of the drayage companies that are located within the port complexes probably won't meet those mileage numbers unless they intentionally try to do some long haul just to meet the number. If they were to do just their typical course of business, they'd probably be somewhere around 10,000 miles. So I understand this is an ARB requirement probably, but I think that it would be a good idea to bring that up to them. And that might be some reason why at some point there might be some undersubscription with all of this, that, you know, there are some that just feel like they're not going to qualify and they don't want to do that long haul just to meet the number. So
we hold update meetings with ARB staff regarding the specific program, so definitely next time we'll bring it up.
great. And what's the issue with respect to the undersubscription right now? I mean, is it that the Clean Air Action Plan there in the port got a lot of these trucks into this newer category and they don't want to get rid of their
No,
08,
actually,
09s? Or?
what we are dealing with right now, most of them are actually non-port trucks, because the first 2 years of the
Got it.
program, we did, the majority of the funding went to drayage trucks.
Sure.
So we have replaced a large number of drayage trucks. This is the first time we're undersubscribed, and the main reason, and this was the case with other air districts also, and the main reason is because these technologies are not available yet. That's one thing that makes some companies hesitate applying. And then when they become available, a lot of companies want to see the track record, the performance of this new technology. So one thing we can entice from our side is a larger amount of funding that is being provided. Meanwhile, we as South Coast Air District, we are trying to see if we can leverage this funding with other federal funds or so if we can get it. But basically, that's the main reason of undersubscription.
Well, I would say it's a mixture of both, so I think you're right. They just went through replacements under the original Prop 1B, and now they're betting on a technology that hasn't been fully commercialized, right? So I think there's two levels of perhaps hesitancy. So I think us putting more money on the table through the program will help.
Okay. As far as the technologies that are available right now, is it mainly just the natural gas that's kind of fully commercialized and the others
Well,
are still?
Yeah, even the natural gas is only 8.9 liters, so it's a smaller
Okay,
engine, and we're really giving a longer lead time for the 12 liter to be developed. So
Okay.
that's what, so to ARB's credit, they've lengthened the period of time for implementation, which then allows these technologies to become commercial.
Great. Okay. I don't have any other questions, so thanks a lot.
I
Appreciate
could
it.
just add, there is an option for a 2-for-1 replacement. So if they have a truck that has only 10,000 miles, based on the previous 2-year record, they can go ahead and find a second older truck and combine the mileage to meet the 20,000.
Great.
We've had some takers in that.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
All right. Any further comments or questions from staff? If not, I'd take a motion.
I'll move the item.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, the matter's passed. Thank you very much. Let's go to item number 2.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
We need roll call.
Roll call, right? Yeah.
Excuse me,
Oh, we
Supervisor.
should have started with that. Sorry about that. Let's take the roll. Please make note of who's here.
Mayor McCallum,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilmember Robinson,
Yes.
Supervisor Rutherford,
Yes.
Supervisor Benoit.
Yes.
Motion passes 5 ayes.
Oh, wait a minute. We got, open that roll again. Look who's here.
Just got out of city council, and count me in on item number 1.
All right, well, we have just counted you on the roll, and then we'll go back to item number 1. We were just taking a vote on that, and since you're here, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Seeing none, that matter's passed unanimously. All right, so then let's move to item number 2.
Mr. Chair, is there a need
Please.
for any asking for public comment?
Well, I always go on the impression if there was someone there that wanted to speak, you would let me know on these, and then we'll do a general public comment later, but on that item, I didn't have any requests, and I don't see any. All right. So then we'll go to item number 2.
Good afternoon, members of the board. This item is to seek your approval for technical assistance for our both demonstration and implementation programs under the Technology Advancement Office. We issue an RFP usually either on an annual or every other year to seek technical assistance for both programs that we have. We issued an RFP for this year back in February, and the solicitation was open for 2 months. It closed on April 8th, and we received 10 proposals. We had a panel of 3 from district employees, a designated deputy, a manager, and a program supervisor that reviewed all the proposals. And the type of need that we need under the Clean Fuels program, usually we need technical assistance to engage our agency with OEMs, evaluation of proposal, have some expertise on the newest technologies, emission testing, and a small portion of the Clean Fuels Fund is also used for stationary technology analysis. Under the incentive funding program, which is basically Carl Moyer program and Proposition 1B, we need assistance with evaluation of applications, our interaction with ARB regarding legislative changes or, changes in the program, annual reporting, and so on. The Carl Moyer program has a larger umbrella. It includes both the soon provision, voucher incentive program, and the lower emission school bus program. So the entire amount of incentive funding we have is basically under these two programs, but it has several components underneath. We received 10 proposals altogether, and only one proposal did not receive enough points to qualify technically. The technical score is between minimum of 56 up to maximum of 70 points, and the remaining 30 points is based on cost of the submitted proposal. So one proposal did not qualify. The other 5 that are listed there as not rated, they were technically qualified. The reason we have not rated them because we do have already existing contract with them from our previous RFP that we had. We believe there is a sound balance remaining in their contract, so during the next year and a half, if we need their services, we can still use them, so there was no reason to basically rate them. And the way we do these proposals are that we enter into contract with them, and then we issue task order on an as-needed basis. That's why we have leftover balances from 5 of the proponents, and the other 4 received enough points to qualify technically and also cost-wise for us to consider them for proposal. So this table shows basically what we are proposing. On the Clean Fuels Fund, we have a total of 4 proposals for a total of $250,000. Under the Moyer, which as I mentioned, it includes VIP and soon and school bus program, Clean Fuels Connection for $175,000. Under Proposition 1B, a total of $285,000. We have 2 proponents there, Clean Fuels Connection and Gladstein and Associates. And then AB 1318, that's the Sentinel power plant projects in Coachella Valley for $50,000. The total amount that we are proposing for all these technical assistance are up to $760,000. But I would like to mention that all the funding that comes under Carl Moyer Proposition 1B and AB 1318 is paid from the administrative portion of these programs that we are receiving funding for. So as our final recommendation, we are recommending to do 4 contracts under the Clean Fuels Fund for $250,000 with AEE, Clean Fuels Connection, Gladstein and Associates, Gladstein, Neandros and Associates, and Ricardo Solutions. 1 contract with Clean Fuels Connection for Carl Moyer program with the administrative portion of AB 923. 2 contracts for Proposition 1B amounting to $285,000 with Clean Fuel Connection and Gladstein and Neandros. And then 1 contract again with Clean Fuels Connection for the AB 1318 implementation. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, colleagues, questions, comments, concerns?
I had a question, Mr. Chair, if I can.
Absolutely.
So we had a number of finalists here. 3 of them I see within 1 point of each other. One company was awarded over $500,000, $510,000. Can you explain why the other 3 weren't allocated additional? I mean, the dollars weren't spread equally. Can you just explain that?
Yes, 1 second. Let me open the page, please.
Oh, well, Fred's looking for the answer. I can respond. Council member, it's based on the anticipated needs of each of the divisions. So it's not spread out the same because staff have expertise in some fields and we don't have expertise in other fields. So the dollar amounts are intended to cover what we don't expect to do in-house. So that's why it's an uneven distribution, but they're really helping supplement staff. So some contractors have. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but thanks, Matt, for that clarification. So it goes. My other question was, do any of these services overlap? So what you're saying, because of their expertise, these services don't overlap?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions, colleagues? All right, anybody in the public there to comment on it? We'll make sure we cover that. All right, seeing none of that, can I have a motion?
Move the item.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, we'll recommend that approval of that. Thank you very much.
Can we get a?
Supervisor, I'm sorry, can we do this by a roll call vote because we have teleconference participants? That's been
Sure,
our
go ahead.
procedure, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Buscaino,
Aye.
Mayor McCallum,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilmember Robinson,
Yes.
Supervisor Rutherford,
Yes.
Supervisor Benoit.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Carlson, ready for number 3?
Yes, this is a request to authorize participation in a demonstration, equipment development demonstration project. We're seeking authorization to provide funding for development of a low-emission switcher to be operated at Pacific Harbor Lines as part of the Port of LA Long Beach Complex. Locomotives, as you know, are a significant source of diesel emissions. They remain so in our inventory. Tier 4 locomotives, the most stringent standard today, are actually many times higher than the Tier 4 we think of in other off-road equipment. The standard Tier 4 locomotive is 1.3 gram per NOx per horsepower hour. Trucks today are 0.2. We've certified the natural gas engine 0.02. So you can see there's a tremendous difference in the technology capability of the existing diesel locomotives versus where the rest of the transportation infrastructure can be. Switcher locomotives are particularly impact the local neighborhoods because they're operating in and out of rail yards. PCA or at PHL, they're operating in the San Pedro area, Long Beach area, and have disadvantaged neighborhoods surrounding the port complex. So they have a particular impact there that may not occur in on-line long-haul locomotives, which are operating, across country. Cleaner locomotives are needed to help meet the ozone standards. They would help meet the PM standards because these do not have any kind of trap on them either, as with a truck, for example. Aftermarket technologies needed to attain 90% emission reductions from diesel technology are very challenging in locomotives, having to do with the duty cycle, the temperatures, space configurations within the locomotive. If you've ever been in one, they're like being in a small boat, essentially. You're running around in the engine compartment of a very constrained small ship, essentially. Natural gas engines have been demonstrated to be 90% cleaner than diesel. This is our project on the Cummins Westport engine. It's been previously demonstrated in earlier technologies where natural gas was always a leading technology to achieve lower emissions than was capable through the diesel technologies of the same period. So I'm sorry. So I believe that the natural gas application here has tremendous promise. Line haul freight and passenger locomotives need more range than is capable with natural gas today. Therefore, they're not a good candidate for demonstration and, let's say, initial launch of the technology. So switcher engines are better for purposes of this demonstration and development activity. They have lower power requirements, they have intermittent power requirements, and they operate in and out of a central location, which makes fueling easy. V-Rail Technologies is a company which is in the business of manufacturing locomotive engines. They have a staff that has come out of some of the main line locomotive engine companies. It's a relatively new company, but it's formed with good technology capability. And they are developing natural gas switcher, which can be 90% cleaner than Tier 4, which would get us down in, basically into this 0.2 range. The ports have selected VRail for a demonstration, and in effect, that program is contingent upon participation by other partners, and that's the motivation for us participating in this project. The technology is they have 4 engines. If you look at the little picture here, there are modules. Think of them as engine modules. A typical switcher has one single engine occupying the entire engine compartment. This concept has 4 modules. They're proposing to have 4 600 horsepower dedicated engines, which give approximately 2,400 horsepower available power, and that's in the range of the switchers that are operating at PHL. It's a spark ignition, stoichiometric fuel control, 3-way catalyst, and special controls to control the phase-in of these 3 engines, because they don't all run in parallel at the same time, and low power one's running, and then as the power demand goes up, they bring in the other engines to provide additional power. So there's a control system. The basic emission control technology or theory is the same as what's used in this natural gas truck that was recently certified. It's philosophically the same kind of technology. But this approach adds something that wasn't available in earlier natural gas demonstration locomotives, and that's the very high pressure CNG tanks, which have been developed through Quanta. And they are offering similar range with the natural gas engines in the storage system as the PHL currently has on their diesel locomotives, which is basically they fuel them once or at most twice a week. And so this is operationally attractive to PHL versus some of the earlier technologies that they have worked with. So our proposal is to assist in development of this natural gas switcher. As part of the program, it includes a certification to the EPA standards. Their expectation is that they will certify to the EPA federal standard of 1.3 because they have to do that in order to sell it nationally, which they would like to do. But they intend to also certify to some intermediate standards, and they believe they can get something like 90% below the 1.3. They're very comfortable in getting to approximately 75% below. This includes a 1-year demonstration at the ports running on the PHL rail system. And then there's and that includes this evaluation of what is a performance, meaning basically what's the acceleration rates, the available power, can it operate in concert with the rest of the diesel fleet. The operating cost of this locomotive compared to the diesel locomotives, system reliability and durability. Reliability here basically is related to uptime of the locomotive. They've told us they're tired of being the experimental guy for new technologies. They would like something that works, they can use. And so the reliability is critical to them. It's of course commercially critical to VRail to be able to sell the system once certified. And durability is more a question of not only is it up and will it start every day, but will it continue to run satisfactorily through the period. We are not putting any district money into this. There are 6 partners basically here. Our proposal is to act as the conduit for Southern California gas funding and EPA money that's been committed to this project. The ports have independently already contracted, or at least authorized the contracting with VRail. VRail is proposing approximately $3 million internally, which is the cost of the locomotive, basically. And the PHL is the operator, and they're proposing that basically as an estimate of the staff time and infrastructure support that they have to provide for the natural gas system. So the recommended actions are to recognize upon receipt the $500,000 from each of the 2 funding partners, and then to execute a contract with VRail for this project in an amount not to exceed the $1 million, or more specifically, not to exceed the amount we actually received from the funding partners. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, questions, comments, concerns?
I have one question, Chairman.
Mr. Chair?
Okay, let's start with Ms. Mitchell, please.
One of the slides indicates, it's the slide titled Technology, but it says there will be 4 600 horsepower natural gas engines. And then at the bottom of that, 2 600 horsepower Tier 4 diesel. I'm just wondering why the diesel?
These are modules. The intent of the locomotive as a built unit is to have 4 modules, all natural gas. They have, for test purposes and for comfort purposes, let's say with PHL as the operator, agreed to put in 2 diesel units that are there basically as backup if there was any problem with the natural gas system, so the locomotive wouldn't be stranded essentially somewhere on the network if anything really happened to the natural gas system. And that seemed to be a strong benefit to, or strong inducement, let's say, to have PHL participate this time in this project. There's one more reason, which is they believe the hybrid concept has general attractiveness in the rail industry. And so one of their certification combinations is to have a natural gas diesel combination certified.
Right.
And they would not expect to achieve the low emission level with that combination, but they would expect to achieve something below the 1.3 current EPA standard.
So they run both at the same, well, they don't run both
They don't
at the
run
same
them
time,
both,
but
no.
they're attached.
They are inside the locomotive body, I would put
I
it that
see,
way.
okay.
And so the diesel would run as a backup or during test environment, test conditions. Because there is actual locomotive engine testing that would go on, and then there's some in-use testing that goes on later.
Okay, thank you, that answers.
Councilman Booth County.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, representing both ports here on the district, we continue to encourage and welcome any and all type of these types of developments and demonstrations down at our San Pedro Bay ports. This is exactly the type of technology that we're looking for. It allows us to not only move our economy forward, but do so in a healthy way. So I strongly support this item. And we'll continue to support, have both ports be the petri dish of these types of technologies and new technologies that come down to the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles. So I respectfully ask and move this item in support of it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'd like to make a couple of additional comments before we move on it. I appreciate the ports being involved. I appreciate our good, close, personal friends, the gas company being involved. I hope that nothing going on would affect that. I also, though, want to go back to a comment that was made by Mr. Carlson at the beginning, where it wasn't in the slides, but you listed off the various levels of pollution from various types of engines. Just about the second or third page, or while we were on that page. The comment you made, I'm not being able to visualize it, but it sounded like a major difference in emissions per horsepower. Could you go back to that for me for just a second? And was I hearing that correctly? And
sure.
Explain again those differences.
Yeah, the differences really reflect EPA and the industry view of the capability of technologies at the time the standards were created, essentially. So in the light duty world, not the light duty, in the heavy duty on-road world, 0.2 was the number, 0.2, that was adopted in like 2008 or something like that, became effective, well actually earlier than that, like 2006. And 2000. In 2000, and then became effective in 2010, basically. And we have developed now this 0.02, or assisted in the development of this 0.02, which is 90% lower. The diesel engines that are in the locomotives can't effectively take advantage of the SCR technologies and the filter technologies that are used in the trucks. And so their standard remains very high. So you have this 1.3 number, which is where the locomotives are. You have 0.2, where most of the on-road trucks are today. and you have the 0.2 natural gas, let's say, future technology that's rolling into the fleets. So that's 0.3, 0.2, and 0.2.
0.0.
Yeah.
0.02. Yeah. I say that twice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. And Councilwoman Mitchell and I and a couple others are going to be going back to DC and meeting with EPA and talking to folks. I'd love to have that visually in a chart.
We can provide that.
And maybe even you might want to add that slide to this as we try to explain why this is such an important area to try to address and improve and change and get industry acceptance, because horsepower by horsepower, it's just not right that they should, continue to do 10 times as much pollution, 20 times as much pollution. I don't remember how that works out, but it's huge.
It is, and that's why we're concerned about it.
Yeah, and with justification, let's make it visual and impactful so that we can use that in our discussion with the EPA about why they need to address this area.
Okay, yes, we can provide that.
All right. The other thought I had is if you have a diesel locomotive and it's got the brand new, natural gas stuff in there, and it's got two diesels next to it, and you got a guy driving it who's been using diesel for 40 years in his career, how do you know that he's going to be using? I mean, I've seen this in other industries where, I'm sticking with what I know. And is there any way to know whether or not they're using the diesel over the natural gas, even if it's not quite as fast or as powerful? The natural gas should be the first, and the others are definitely a backup.
Well, the control system knows that. So basically, the operator of the locomotive basically has his throttle, and that's it. And he doesn't really have any control over what the engine selection is.
And even, Supervisor, this is Henry, even if it was on diesel, it's only 1,200 horsepower, so it can't really do any work per se compared to having the 2,400 horsepower in order to move the consist of container cars. So it won't perform the same way either.
It'll be an immediate flag to service the locomotive.
But the engine,
all right,
the diesel or gas engine is only generating electricity that goes to the wheels that turn the car.
Well, so is a diesel. So is a diesel.
I understand that. But those engines are not the locomotive power. Right. They're the ones that generate the electricity that goes to the wheels that move the car.
That's correct.
Because most people
so
it's not diesel that's driving the engine, it's electricity.
It's a motor, yeah.
It's electricity generated by the diesel engine.
Right.
Got it. One electron looks like another. Okay, any other comments from colleagues or the public on this item? All right, in that case, did we already have a motion? Do we have a motion in a second?
Yes, we had a motion in a second.
Thought we did. Let's call the roll.
Councilmember Buscaino?
Yes.
Mayor McCallum?
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilmember Robinson?
Yes.
Supervisor Benoit?
Yes.
Motion passes 5 ayes.
Thank you very much. I believe that's the last item on our agenda. Do we have any general public comments or member comments?
Not here in Los Angeles, Mr. Chair, no.
Okay.
Chairman, there's one more.
Seeing none.
They're not? Or is it
I'm sorry.
Their business? Oh, okay.
Is there another item I'm missing?
No.
No. That was Richard. Richard did for other one.
Oh,
If I can, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I have something to share with the committee. I was one day late on National Ride Your Bike to Work Day. So we had a big budget day here in City Hall. So I rode my bike from San Pedro to City Hall here in downtown Los Angeles, 23, 24 miles. But I used an e-bike to get me here quicker.
Is that cheating?
Yes, absolutely. Last
we
year,
won't call
I
that
didn't
cheating.
use it. I'll confess to that. Last year, without an e-bike, it got me here in 2 hours. And this year, the e-bike trimmed 30 minutes. So it got me here in an hour and a half. However, the battery ran out midway through. So in a time, it's all right. I still got to work out. So as we're discussing technology and longevity and trying to do everything we can to move our, low emission, zero emission drayage trucks, specifically in the port, we need to do the same with our modes of transportation, including bikes. So I even looking for anyone, all the techies out there to create a battery operated bike that will last at least the 25 miles to get me down here. So just want to share that with you.
Can we,
Have a good weekend.
we expect to see a video of that at our next board meeting, or?
It's on Facebook. It's already up.
All right, good job. All right, nothing further. We're adjourned. Thank you.
I did a 30-mile bike ride, and they gave me an e-bike, but